Hey everybody, and welcome to the Premodern Showdown Series. This is episode 3. I'm Michael Hype. I'm joined tonight, as always, by Flint Espil. Say hi, Flint.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so now that I think I've got all my technical hiccups out of the way, we can focus on the wonderful magic that we have scheduled tonight. We have a match that is between James and Jared. The keen eyes will see that they were the late night match originally, but we switched things around. So James and Jared will be first, and then we're going to be finishing off the night with Ben against Aaron. So we can go over to the ban screen for our first match. So James and Jared, we will look at what decks are banned. So James, his 3 decks are Blue Black Stifle Knot, 5 color Sligh, and then the Star Spangled Slaughter deck. And Jared has the Red Green Goblins, Draco Blast, and 5 color Terragon. James has his Blue Black Stifle Knot deck banned, and Jared has his 5 color Terragon deck banned. So let's move over to the decks and see what the players are playing. So James has selected to play the Star Spangled Slaughter deck. So this mid-rangey tempo-based deck with the Lightning Angels and Meddling Mages, which we've seen already in this Premodern Showdown series. That's done pretty well. Has it been played once or has it been played more than once? I can't. I think it's once, right? Yes. Yeah,
This one's the
John's
focus.
played
John
it.
played it.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And so the deck, the one thing that's good is it has a lot of removals. The Fire Ices, Lightning Bolts, Swords of Plowshares, uh, good against creature decks, and then it does have interactions against the combo decks with cards like Meddling Mage and Memory Lapse, and does have a sideboard that can kind of adjust to things, take out the cards that aren't as good, and hopefully improve its matchup. So, pretty solid deck, and let's see what it is up against. Jared has brought Goblins. So, like I said, the removal in that deck could be pretty problematic for the Goblins deck. Do you want to talk about anything on this list? I have to get some things ready behind the scenes real
Yeah,
quick.
this is going to be a good match. When I played the Patriot or whatever we're calling it these days, Star Spangled Slaughter, in the monthlies, I played against Goblins twice. And the first time I beat Goblins, but I think that the other player may have made some mistakes. But when I played Goblins in the top 16 or whatever, those matches were close. And even though you're feeling pretty good with all the removal in the Patriot deck, goblins just can rebuild so quickly with a matron into a ringleader. I can come out of the gate so quickly. So I think that the certainly with all the creature removal, the Star Spangled Slaughter deck is well positioned, but this matchup is by no means tilted in that deck's favor. And Jared's a very good goblins player, so I think we're going to see a really good match here, and I'm really excited to watch it. I don't know what folks think in chat. Maybe we could put a poll out in just a minute and see who folks think is going to win this.
Yeah.
It is important to note Jared is on the play and he's on goblins.
Okay, so I'll go over to our key card screen, and we have lots of red cards showing up. So the first card I have highlighted is Lightning Bolt for the Star Spangled Slaughter deck. This it could be Swords of Plowshares, but basically the cheap interaction pieces are important to disrupt the Goblin deck, and the Patriot deck is full of those. I was originally going to say Fire Ice, but really you're not going to divide it up very that often. Like it's you're probably just going to be using like the more impactful goblins are 2 toughness. So I think a bolt is pretty much better in most of those instances because it costs 1. Then out of the sideboard, there are 2 copies of Pyroclasm, which I highlighted because it is a way to sweep the board for the blue, white, red deck. And that is something that I think the Goblins deck is going to respect. It does have some ways to deal with it, but something that I think will be on Jared's mind in the post-border games. The From the Goblins' perspective, Goblin Ringleader is the card advantage because of the lots of interaction pieces from the blue, white, red deck. You expect a lot of the initial turns to kind of go card for card, and then if the Goblin deck is able to resolve Goblin Ringleader and draw 2 to 3 cards, that might be able to push it over the edge and play the longer game, which I would expect most of these games in this match to go a little bit longer. And then the other card I have highlighted is actually Goblin Piledriver, and I was playing this matchup with Brian Colwell over last week. We were just playing some games, and I was on the Goblin side, and he was on the Star Spangled Slaughter side, and I the ability of Pro Blue was pretty relevant in this because cards like Meddling Mage or Lightning Angel aren't able to get in the way of the pile driver. So if you're able to keep Mother Runes off the board, which is not necessarily a given, then and if all the removal spells are used on other goblins, then a pile driver can be a really formidable threat because its power can get really big and it might deal a real big chunk of damage. So those are cards to look out for. It's really interesting because a lot of the pieces in these decks kind of interact in different ways, and it's fun to watch. So I'm hoping for a really good match. So let's jump down to the play area so we can watch the players kick things off. Okay.
It looks like James Mold to 6.
Dry Cereal asks, where could a player go to acquire these cards if they were so inclined? Some sort of orb, I hope. Card Sphere would be a good resource that you can get cards, trade, buy, and sell cards. So it's a pretty cool feature. That we are sponsored by Card Sphere this season, so we want to thank them. Let me figure out our poll. Flint, if you want to give a play-by-play for a bit while I get this set up.
And out of the gates, we have a mountain from Jared, and it looks like a Mug Fanatic. Oh, a Mug Fanatic in the front. Oh, but wait, what's this? A City of Brass? 1 point of damage. Oh, and a Mother of Runes. Will Mom survive the turn? I guess we'll see. How's that, Mike?
That's fine. I kind of tuned
All
you
right.
out, so.
Oh, no. Anyway, James is at 19. Jared's got some decisions to make. Here we go.
All right, we got 2 minutes up for the prediction poll, so place your bets on who you think is going to win this match.
All right, so he's swinging in with Fnatic here, obviously. All right, so he's going to block.
Oh, he did. Okay, he did block. I was gonna say he might take the damage, but I guess if you pretty much expect the Mog Fanatic to get used, then makes sense.
Yeah,
to block.
absolutely.
All right. So yeah, that Mother of Runes getting removed is kind of step one for the goblins. It does have a decent number of ways, especially when that's on the play. Like Mog Fanatic or Goblin plus Gem Pulp Incinerator are pretty good. But if that Mother Rune sticks around, then things do get a lot trickier. So it's very good for Jared that he's able to get that off. Okay, we see a Lackey that came down, and then Swords of Plowshares took care of that one.
Yeah, James is down to 17 now.
Yeah, so we do see the early removal coming out, and then he is playing another Mother of Runes. So, but then Jared has his response with Mog Fanatic. So
Jared's down to 19. That's Ancient Tomb. He's going to Gem Palm. How many channel points for an old-timey stream? Oh, God. I think it would take quite a few. I don't think our good friend, the Cloud Goat Ranger, would be much of a fan of that.
did the poll not go up? It says it has 25 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it's up. It pulls up.
Okay. Okay, so we see a Metalated Mage come down. Hopefully they'll let us know what they're naming. I think usually Goblin Ringleader or Goblin War Chief are cards that get named a lot.
Siege King. Oof.
Siege King, okay. One thing to note, there are, I don't know if only 3 copies of Siege Gang. It's one of my favorite cards in the Goblin deck, so I almost always want 4 copies. Oh, you said Siege Gang because it got played. Okay, not because it was named Meddling Mage.
Correct.
All right, that makes more sense. I'm like,
not the card that I would have named either. I think probably Ringleader would have been my name.
I'll say Jared's not following the rules if someone just plays a Meddling Mage and names Siege Gang Commander, and then he just plays it anyways. But yeah, we do have a Lightning Bolt that'll take away the Siege King Commander, so that'll just leave Jared with a bunch of 1/1s. But still, this is a good exchange for Jared because, I mean, he's ahead on board, but I don't even know. I mean, I guess he would be able to attack from this position because of the Mog Fanatic. But he's looking to... What card did he just play?
Yeah, that's correct, Gabe.
What land did Jared play?
Carplucin Forest, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the black border on that one was throwing me off. Because is that the seventh edition art? I think so.
I can't tell if it's seventh. I think it might be
The fifth?
fifth.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's. I can't really tell.
Maybe. Oh,
Looks like folks are saying sixth, maybe black bordered.
oh, yeah. Is the sixth one different than the fifth?
I don't think
No.
that it is.
But I think given the way the text box is, I think it is sixth edition.
Yeah. All right. So
I should
a
probably up
couple
the
exchanges here.
life totals. All right. So James is at 12, while Jared sits at 14.
Yeah, and pretty big swing here. So Jared casts the lackey and it gets memory lapse, but then he follows it up with a another siege gang. So in game one without the sweepers, James is a bit on the back foot here. And that's really where this red, white, and blue deck struggles is the card advantage, right? So much of it's 1-for-1, with a few exceptions like we've noted.
Yeah, usually the game wants to go. It wants to trade one for one and then be able to play like Lightning Angel, and then you can clock and then also theoretically block, and then your one for ones are at least keeping you on parity while you're dealing some damage. But when you're behind on the board, then uh, it's a little bit more problematic. This is a fire ice. I mean, this is not a very good fire ice given that there's an active siege gang. I guess Jared has a decision whether he wants to fling a goblin, because I'm assuming that 2 damage is pointed at siege gang, but
Yeah,
even then, I mean, how much damage could Jared do right here? He could fling. He could deal 4 for attacking a goblin, then deal 1. So he could do 7 right now. All right, he'll take 2 from Ancient Tomb. And James's mana base has been pretty painful for him. I feel like
yeah.
at
Only one
least it seems
basic.
like almost every turn that he's been taking damage from his spells. So, all right,
So he's going to scoop him up.
yep. So that first game goes to Jared, and without really, I guess the card advantage came in the form of Siege Chain Commander there, but there wasn't the traditional matron and a ringleader type thing that we see in the Goblins game. I guess with James kind of stumbling on mana, the game was a little bit shorter than I guess I would expect, but still the initial turns were pretty scripted in that a lot of the creatures get removed.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's interesting too, just really quickly, because I think Siege Gang, like you had noted, has fallen out of favor a little bit with some of the more recent lists. They don't run as many Siege Gangs, but it's just so good in this matchup.
all right, we have the sideboard up for the Star Spangled Slaughter deck. The Hydroblast, there's 3 of those. Those seem very good. And the 2 Pyroclasms and Slice and Dice seems fine. I mean, I did highlight that like a lot of the goblins that are more impactful have 2 toughness, but
Still bring it in.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably so cards you could take out Memory Lapse, 2 Disenchant. Those seem like maybe Predict. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you. How many cards is that? That's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's like 6 cards I think you're looking to bring in. So I'd probably leave in. I don't know if I like Predict or Memory Lapse better. I think I like Memory Lapse more than Predict, but that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I would shave the disenchants. I would shave probably 3 predicts and 1 memory lapse is
Okay.
probably what I would do.
All right, over to Jared's sideboard. So he does have the green cards in his sideboard, mostly for naturalize. There really isn't anything in the list that he needs to bring those in for, so I expect to see the forest and, well, maybe not the forest because of Call or the Claw, but the naturalizes will probably be in the sideboard. But Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast I would expect to come in. I mean, even a card like Gem Home Incinerator is not bad. Like, it's a way to deal with Meddling Mage, and then also you kind of want to have more answers for Mother of Runes, and it always replaces itself. And at some point, I would expect to have 2 goblins in play, but I don't know. I think the Hearth Charms are probably the card I would take out first. So
Yeah,
replace those with the blasts, and then you're kind of looking, do you want to bring in Call of the Claws for like the sweeper type thing? But I mean, in general, there's only like the two Pyroclasm, and because it is non-token as well, it's not like a Fire Ice on some Siege King tokens is going to get you much. So I don't know how good the Call of the Claw really is here.
I might bring in the pyrokinesis as well, even though it seems a little wild. If you think about the Patriot deck, it really is threat light, and I think Chat mentioned that earlier. There aren't a lot of things you have to worry about. It's mostly those pesky angels. And so the more removal you have to slow that deck down while you continue to build up your goblins, I do think the better off you are. I'm not a goblins expert, don't really play the deck. I love it, I have it built, but I do think that any kind of removal for mages or for angels really can go a long way against Star Spangled Slaughter or Patriot or whatever we're calling it. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, that reasonable. I guess I would think I'd rather have Gem Incinerate first. I guess it's obviously not a guarantee that you'll have four goblins to kill a lightning angel, but replacing itself I think is pretty good as compared to going down a card. But um,
Sure.
I guess another thing is like Goblin King. There already is one in the main, but there are a couple of mountains I think in James's deck.
Hmm.
Yes, there are two mountains. So, but I guess there's no way to fetch it. So um, that might come up, but the +1/+1 is really not at its best in this matchup. Like the bolts and the swords still get rid of the creatures, and like I was talking about the fire ices. I don't know. I don't know if the king would come in. All right, so we have one game for the goblins player. That means we have the Star Spangled Slaughter deck on the play. And we will figure out if James will be able to equalize and then force a game three. So, in terms of James' start, I think he just wants some early interaction like he did before: bolts, swords, hydroblasts, uh, and
Yeah.
looks like he does not have that. Um, yeah, I guess one thing we kind of have talked about, like with the Patriot deck being a three-color deck, there are going to be hands that you're going to have to mulligan just because you can't cast your initial spells. But it looks like Jared is also sending his opening seven back, so both players will at least be on 6 cards for the second game.
What was the result of the poll? I didn't see it.
Uh, I do not know. It looks like everyone said Jared. I mean, I don't know how many people voted, but all the points went to Jared. So we either got a lot of Goblins fans out there, or people have no faith in James. So
I believe in you, James.
I have a hard time rooting for a deck other than Goblins, though. So
Yeah, I feel like Goblins isn't necessarily the proverbial good guy or hero anymore.
I mean, like
He's
if you
developed a
take,
bit of a reputation.
I feel like the only reason why you consider like Goblins the bad guy is because of Goblin Lackey, but I think everything else it does is like very honest and like respectable of how it like wins games. Like it doesn't really do anything unfair per se, other than Lackey.
Yeah, I mean, Lackey is obviously the most powerful card, but just given how streamlined it is and how fast it is,
Yeah,
I think it's scary enough that in some contexts could absolutely be the bad
yeah,
guy.
I can understand how you don't like Lackey, but I don't feel like you can ever get mad at a deck that like is matroning into Goblin Ringleader and beating you that way. I don't know.
I don't know if I get mad at it, but I certainly feel like it does some unfair things very quickly,
All right, so we
if
have
it's unanswered at least.
James started things off with a Portent, while Goblin Lackey came down for Jared. But we do have a Fire Ice, so both players take a damage thanks to City of Brass. But Jared does not get to attack with his little 1/1. All right. I guess one element we didn't talk about from Jared's side is the wastelands in his deck, and since James is that 3 color deck with kind of a fragile mana base. We could see Wasteland coming in real key. All right, so this is kind of a flashback of turn 1 from the first game, but Mog Fanatic's on the board, and so is Mother of Ruins. So I wouldn't
Oof.
expect this Mother to stay around. All right,
Another wasteland too.
yep, and that's a pile driver. So not very formidable on its own, but if Goblin War Chief or more cards are joining the fray, like a Ancient Tomb and a Ringleader certainly could speed up this clock. So that's a third Wasteland from Jared.
That is the third wasteland, yeah. I mean, the good news for James here is he can go for an island with his Flooded Strand, but he's still out on red mana, so it's cutting off, 8 of his removal cards.
Mm-hmm.
I guess 7, since he already played a Fire Ice, it looks like, but
And this Matron comes down, and so I guess depending on the mana sources in Jared's hand, I would expect Ringleader. But if you don't have a fourth land, then this is kind of interesting because he only has one red source. I don't know exactly what you'd be getting. It could just be like another pile driver if that were the case. Um, yeah, given that he's okay, so he's getting a war chief. Which to me seems like I guess if you need a red mana to cast it, he either has it in his hand, but then you'd have Ringleader mana. Interesting. I feel like I'd be getting Ringleader in most spots here.
it really is. I mean, I guess the second best card in his deck, maybe the best card in his deck.
I guess it could be that he already has a Ringleader in his hand, but and another a mana source. I don't know, but I think if you need to draw a land, then I think I would pick a Ringleader over War Chief.
If Gabe plays against Jared, he's banning goblins, no matter what. Even if his other decks have 4 black lotuses. What's the plural of lotus? Is it just lotus? Does anybody know?
Uh, I don't know. I think I've heard both Lotus and Lodi, but I don't know what
Lotus
is
is
official.
lotai.
All right, we see a meddling mage come down, and presumably it had named the Goblin War Chief that James knows about. So, so Jared does have Wasteland available to take out this Shivan Reef, so that James can't take full advantage. Okay, so just the pile driver is coming in, so we see a little bit of fear from the Goblin Matron. So I don't think there's an Incinerator or Mog Fanatic on in Jared's hand. Otherwise, I think he'd be willing to trade those with the the meddling mage. We see another matron. So
Apparently the meddling mage named War Chief,
okay,
FYI.
so even here was an interesting decision that Jared had because he had the choice of um, playing a matron or using the wasteland on the red source for James. And did he get a Skirk Prospector? Okay, so it looks like he is in need of more mana.
I've been playing a little Diablo 2, Resurrected, so what comes to mind is not enough mana. If anyone wants to play Diablo Resurrected with me, let me know.
Oh,
Message me.
Lotus is the plural of Lote. So Lotus is plural. I did not realize that.
I did not either. Thank you, Dre Cereal.
Oh, he made that up. Well, it was believable. Or we're gullible. I don't know.
It seemed very cromulent, I mean, got us.
Okay, we see the board getting cleared up. What?
Hey, Tom.
I didn't even see what card got rid of the pile driver. But the Shivan Reef has now been destroyed by the Wasteland, so.
War Chief again on the name.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter. All right, so there is the ringleader.
Yes.
At long last.
Looks like a 1. That looks like is that a matron? It's very hard to see. The resolution was not coming through very well for me. If I had to guess, it was a Goblin Ringleader, but it was only one card out of 4, so below average Goblin Ringleader, I would say.
Looks like he's got a. It was a gem palm.
Gem
Got a
palm?
gem palm and a
Okay.
war chief in hand that we know about. It looks like James is at 12, and
Okay.
Jared's at 15.
Do you know how many
Look at
cards James has in his hand?
I do not.
All right.
At least one.
All right. Mother Runes comes down, but we know that there's a Jump Home Incinerator. That's I would imagine this getting cycled. I guess you could. Okay, I was gonna say you could make the decision to kind of hold out and try and take out the Meddling Mage, but I think you're giving up a pretty big opportunity of letting that Mother Runes go online. Plus,
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think Jared really just wants to jam the war chief, build his board, and pressure James while James is still working with just one blue and one white mana available.
what do you think of this Meddling Mage attacking? I guess if it blocks the Ringleader, then War Chief just comes on anyways. But in general, as the like, do you like trading 2 damage for 2 damage against the Goblin deck for the blue white red?
It really just depends. I mean, in some games you're hoping to maybe even just try to burn them out to finish the game, but James doesn't have any red mana and probably not a lot of cards left in his hand. So I think that really, he doesn't have a lot of time. Um,
I guess if he blocks,
I
then
don't know
he's
if I
just
like the
taking two.
attack.
I guess he's just taking 2 damage and then not dealing any. So I guess it's not as much of a choice as maybe I was thinking originally. But we see Goblin King come down, and that will um,
Well,
that
fortunately, James doesn't have any mountains.
yes.
So
Let's say right, we see Swords of Plowshares. That is on the pile driver. So
seems good.
2 life goes to Jared.
One. Is it one? Isn't he one too?
Not with a Goblin King in play.
Oh, yes. You sneaky king.
Mhm. I don't think anyone really has played Goblin Goon. Like, I don't know if it's really needed in this style of in like Goblin's deck, but I think you could make some type of a deck with just like Ancient Tombs and trying to play like a oversized 6/6 and just kind of almost in like a burn deck. But I mean, I guess you could. It would fit fine, I think, in the Goblin's deck. But it's just, I don't think it's the same type of game plan of like dealing giant chunks with one creature. But I don't think it's a bad card.
It's never felt good to me in any deck that I've tried to build in over the years.
Well, I mean, we always talk about how there just aren't that many creatures in pre-modern sometimes. So it's like, what's wrong with playing a 4 mana 6/6 then? I don't know.
Well, I think it's just a matter of what would you take out, right, for it.
Yeah.
Would you rather pay 4 mana for something like a ringleader or 5 for a siege gang? Like I think the go wide strategy is part of what makes goblins so good. It looks like James is going to scoop it up.
Yeah, just
Um,
the mana denial, and without him being able to cast the red spells, I think he wasn't able to hold up to the goblins. So Jared takes it down in 2 games. I guess that means that I can put the results for the poll. That means
3 wastelands, and he only needed 2.
yes. Enjoy your channel points, all you people who picked Jared. So, all right, let's switch our screens so that we can see the players. I will unmute them. Hey guys.
Yeah. I think we turn them up.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
Here we go.
We're
back.
just looking at sideboarding, so okay, so you did bring in the collar of the claws. We weren't sure, like when I looked at it, there weren't that many opportunities for James to kill multiple creatures on one turn, so I wasn't sure how impactful the collar of the claw would be.
I just figured they were going to be some insurance.
Sure.
You know, I didn't think, especially after like a pyroclasm or whatever. I think it seemed like it was going to be fine, but
Seems better than sharpshooter too.
Yeah, it seems better. I think these are pretty easy,
Yeah.
takeouts. So
So I
was
do
just
have
like,
mountains. So wait, does Hearthstone give or
No, it's
Hearthstone
a-
give Mountain Walk or no?
no, it's
no.
Oh,
power.
it's just okay.
Um,
It's artifact creature, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring that one up.
Yeah. I think we can sum that one up. I just didn't see any lands, and obviously good draws on Jared's. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the big turn in game one was baiting you with that with the memory lapse on the Goblin Lackey instead of the Siege Gang.
Yeah,
Being able to land that was huge.
I think it's a toss up there too on the meddling mage naming ringleader or Siege Gang. Like
Yeah,
I could
if you had made
see
that
both
correctly,
plays on board because you had put out because you wanted to get rid of the mom either way, right? So you took the turn when you had 4 men on board to play out Gem Palm, I think, to kill the mom or Mog Fanatic, one of those. And so I
Yeah.
could see having ringleader in hand, and a resolved ringleader is tough for me to come back from. One Siege Gang I think I can handle, but yeah, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then no mana, but
yeah, that never helps anybody.
no. Well, and both games I mulled to 6 and kept a 1-lander just because I had, I felt it was better than going to 5 and potentially not having an answer for turn 1 Lackey. And I think, going into this matchup, especially on the draw, and that's why I was pretty bummed to lose the die roll being on the draw. I just have to keep something that can deal with Lackey because I figured you were on Goblins. Yeah, just didn't get there.
Makes sense.
Do you guys want to talk about bans at all, of like how you approach things? Was there a lot of thought, or was it just kind of just going with your gut of what you didn't want them to play?
So for me, I looked at the decks and I felt like the Sligh and the Patriot Aggro, whatever, Star Spangled Slaughter. By the way, I found a deck list for the Lightning Angel deck. It was called Angel Fire. It was
Much better name.
Well,
Yeah.
that was like a
I heard
Ravnica.
that one.
That was a Ravnica era deck, wasn't it?
It was, but it still had Lightning Angel and Meddling Mage and like a few other things. I think it was like an extended deck or something. I'm not sure, but I was like, that's a pretty good one. But anyway, I just figured like when I saw eventually that like both decks had Fire and Ice, they were both gonna be like if I was able to play Goblins, he was gonna have to play the control. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take his like more combo approach out, and then like kind of leave myself with like kind of knowing that like if I have either deck, they're gonna kind of play similarly, because his Sligh deck is still aggressive. It's not as aggressive as the standard Sligh decks. So I figured he could probably put him more in the control lineup in either way, if I was able to play with Goblins or or what have you. So I just figured it was the most different than the other two, so I could kind of predict how my play style and my mulligans could go if I kind of had an idea of what he was going to be in the matchup.
Yeah, I thought the 5-color Terragon was kind of the most threatening to all 3 of my decks.
Yeah.
Kind of figured the Stifle Knot was going to get banned because it's strong against both red decks. So that made a lot of sense there. I figured in deciding between Sligh and Patriot tonight, Sligh, I don't love the matchup against the Draco Blast deck because I'm just a little slower than a typical Sligh deck, and also I can't deal with Insidious Dreams and like going into the combo. So I was kind of forcing myself onto Patriot, but I also thought that Sligh had a better matchup against Goblins, worse matchup against Draco Blast. I felt that Patriot had like a 55-45 matchup against both red decks. Maybe I'm wrong there, but that was kind of my leaning towards Patriot. Didn't work.
I would say that definitely seems like the blue-white red deck has all the tools to beat Goblins. Like there's a million removal spells, as long as your mana kind of comes into play, which kind of didn't really. So I guess that's probably part of the issue. But yeah, I think it definitely has the tools to beat the Goblins deck.
I was also and when it came down to what I wanted to play, when it came down to it, it basically was like I just figured I had a good chance. Like I said, I assigned my role as like being the aggressor and with the Goblins deck, and I just knew it made my mulligans easier for that. And also like once like I actually did want to play the Terragon deck, so he did ban the right deck. Against his matchups, I was going to pretty much set on playing that deck against if it was available to me. So that was good. But yeah.
Cool. There was a question here, Jared, earlier. Let's see. Are you going to the Bellingham tournament this month?
I cannot. No, it's Yes, at ELD Time Vault Games. It's the last weekend in October, the following weekend. I actually cannot make it. I have to. I'm going to a wedding down in DC that weekend for a good old friend of mine. So
Is that a pre-modern or is
otherwise,
that an old school tournament?
no, it's a pre-modern event. So Time Vault Games is down in Bellingham, Massachusetts, and it's really known as like a legacy store, I think. And like he actually puts up a bunch of like legacy content on YouTube, and they're actually really good. He does like double speed magic, and he just like reviews the games, like commentates on them. His name's Eric. He's a great dude. But he's running a pre-modern event, and I texted him as soon as I heard about it. I was like, dude, I wish I could be there. Like I would have like you know I'll be shouting from the rooftops and everything, just trying to get people to go. But I wish I could be there, but unfortunately, it's just I have a conflict that weekend.
For a second there, I thought it was Bellingham, Washington, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's going to be a hell of a trek for you, Jared, all the way across the country."
No. We got Bellingham in Massachusetts too. It's about 45 minutes outside of Boston, but not too far.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, another good games, and thanks for playing, James, and look forward to next week as always.
Yeah, I think that was all that we really had from the chat. I mean, we don't really have to kick you out because I guess we did get a little ahead of schedule. I guess I don't know if our other players are ready to play right away. I guess that's the next thing
I'll
we can
message
check
him real quick.
But
I mean, Flint and I can continue our discussion about our lives that we had before the show started. So the trials and tribulations of being a mid-30-year-old male.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was pretty deep, incisive,
Yeah.
contemplative. Yes,
Very much so. But yeah, so who's the next matchup? Is Aaron and who?
it is Ben. So.
And they both banned elves again, right?
Yep. Yes, the elves decks.
We haven't seen elves played yet, have we?
No,
No.
But I'm pretty
we
sure.
Never will.
I think it will not be.
I didn't ban it.
I
didn't ban it.
I'm pretty sure it will not be banned all the time. I have a hunch. So I know some people said they were planning on not banning it, and I do believe that's the case. So
now I want to play it.
Yeah.
But next week I don't have the option. I don't think.
But no, I didn't ban it when I went last week. So I mean, I think it'll show up.
I'm sure it will.
Good. Yeah.
Well, it does look like our next players are ready, so we will bid you adieu. Thanks for the games, guys. Congrats, Jared. Best luck next week, James.
All right, folks. Catch you later.
Bye.
All right, thanks. All right, we'll jump over to our schedule, not our standings from last year, and we will be loading things up for the matchup between Ben and Aaron. So we're going to be taking a quick break so we can get them set up. So just sit tight. I'll be running some ads, some friends of the show, as we like to call them. So some other pre-modern resources if you're interested in the format and not familiar with them. Podcast, website, other streams. So things to check out if you're interested in this format. So we will be back shortly. So stick with us. Okay, everyone, we are back from our little intermission. We have Ben and Aaron set up. So we are going to jump over to their ban screen so that we can talk about what decks they have available. So Ben, his 3 decks are Survival Elves, the Death and Taxes or Rebel Stacks deck, and Zombies. And then Aaron is playing Survival Elves, Sligh, and Esper Stiflenaught. So the Elves decks have been banned, as people kind of have been. I don't even know if it's lamenting is the right word. People have been noticing that Elves are getting banned a lot, and I don't know if that's just feeding into the theory that Elves is too good. But I don't know if people are happy that it's not being played, or they're kind of like they want it to be played. I'm not sure. So either way, we're not seeing the little green people tonight.
Agree. There's this weird tension between the people who like the deck and know it's good, but are tired of people complaining about how good it is, but also don't want people to know how good it is. And it's just in this weird space, but the deck is good. It's getting banned. We'll see it eventually.
Okay. So the decks available to Ben are the Death and Taxes deck that we saw last week, and then his Zombies tribal deck, the aggro black. And then Aaron has Sligh, his tried and true, and then also the Esper Stiflenaught. So let's jump over and look at which decks they did select. So Up first, we have Ben, and he has elected to play the Death and Taxes deck again. So
Okay.
the Rebel stacks, as it's been said. So
The
what this
Rebel
deck is trying to
stacks.
do, because this is probably the most, I would say this is probably the most creative deck that's in this submitted in this 24 of this Premodern Showdown series. I think this is something that Ben has been working on, tweaking and tuning and trying to adjust. So hopefully when he built it, he has played the Sligh matchup and can do enough against it. So what it's trying to do is have some disruption pieces with sphere resistance or tangle wire, or eventually like a smokestack, and then use the rebel cards. So the rebel mechanic is that it can pay mana to search your deck for a rebel as compared to casting cards from your hand. So kind of when you're under that prison lock, you're able to kind of further develop your board. And then there's a toolbox assortment of tools that I can get with Enlightened Tutor, and there are some key cards in the sideboard that I think we will have to touch on a little bit later, but I think that will come to play. But in general, this deck does give your opponent like a lot of time. Sphere Resistance can throw a wrench in some decks' plans, but if the game is going for a lot of turns, some decks can kind of get around that sphere. So over to Aaron. The Sligh deck is the choice that he has elected tonight. So
Here we go.
this is pretty typical of like the red decks that we see. Aaron's the thing that he champions is the Urza's Bauble, which we have seen other players adapt. He has won a tournament with the Easter Championship. That was a decent sized tournament that he won with this list, and so this is something that Aaron plays a lot. There's not much to say about the red decks. It's a lot of burn and some aggressive creatures, so pretty typical of what you expect to see out of the red decks.
Could we say that it's a lot of fun?
Uh, it's
We could say that about it, right?
it's a fun police, I guess, a lot of times. But
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, sometimes like the Sligh decks just kill you, but some of the times the games are really, really, really interesting, I think. But there are some games where you just die, which is unfortunate. Anyways, I'll jump over to the key cards. So for the red deck, I said Grim Lavamancer is a card that I think would come into play because one, it doesn't get affected by sphere resistance. Once it's in play, you still get to activate it for red. And then also, a recurring source of damage is good in multiple senses of that it's able to take out Ben's creatures, and then also just convert a resource of used cards into a source of damage to finish off Ben. So I think Grim Lavamancer might come into play in this match. Sulfuric Vortex is a card I talked about because it's a way, once it comes down, that it's just a recurring source of damage that Ben kind of has to answer, because Ben typically will be dealing less pressure than the Sligh deck. And so I think usually the red deck will be on the better half of the Sulfuric Vortex if both players are taking 2 damage every turn. From Ben's perspective, I think Sphere Resistance is a card that's pretty important. Just slowing the Sligh deck down, I think, could buy you a number of turns. The one problem that I see is, since Ben can't really close out the game really quickly, I think it will lose its effectiveness if the game draws out too many turns. But I think Sphere is probably a key component in the games that he wins. And then out of the sideboard, a lot I think is leaning on this one card. There are 4 inline tutors to get it after the sideboard, but Sphere of Law I think is going to be pretty much the A plan that Ben will have, is to fetch this up and cast this to really reduce the damage that Aaron can deal. Okay, is there any insight you want to add before we jump over to the match?
The only thing that I think I would add is just how great Cursed Scroll is for Aaron, but he in this Bauble version elects to run fewer Cursed Scrolls, so he only has 2. I think that's a card that could absolutely do a lot of work in the same vein as the other cards you highlighted with the recurrent damage. But it does sort of circumvent cards like Sphere of Law. So we'll see if he's lucky to draw into one and ride one out.
Okay, so I will jump over to the match. I will get our prediction ready if you want to let them know they're ready, and then
All right.
keep our viewers up to speed.
All right, here we go. And I believe Ben is on the play here. So he's going to lead us off. I won't do the old-timey voice this time. I will spare Michael Hoyp.
Was it old timey? I kind of it felt like a racehorse kind of thing when we were talking about like predictions, and so
It
felt
was
like,
it was old. It was old-timey racehorse for sure.
all right, okay.
Simple plains, bobble on a mountain, and a pup. Beautiful snow-covered plains here for Ben. By the way, one of my preferred plains in the game. I love that purple sky.
Oh, so we see a bauble revealing random card.
Yes, it looks like a defiant falcon. It didn't want to be refilled, and it was quite defiant.
I'm very confused. I'm trying to type in the name of the prediction of who will win match 2, and it is telling me this name is not compliant with our content guidelines. Who will win?
Oh, it's Aaron's last name.
Okay.
Poor Aaron runs into this problem all the time online.
That makes more sense. But it was under like the name of the prediction, so it made it seem like the title was okay.
Yeah. Just put Aaron. All right, so the pup gets swords. So Aaron goes up to 22, and then the Defiant Falcon comes down. Ben, and let's see. All right, there's a scroll. Okay, and he's going to follow it up with another 1-drop here. Will it be a pup or a fanatic or just some straight up shock value? All right, got to get those cards out of his hand, folks. All right, so cracks another bauble, and we will see what's behind door number 1. And it's a swords. Okay. Looks like Aaron will pass. And Aaron's at 22, Mike. Go after you're done with that.
All right, I will be able to update that.
Okay. So, all right. So Ben's going for a sphere here.
Well, I mean, I
Wants
guess
to keep those cards in Aaron's hand.
the thing I'm most surprised with is that Ben is at 20. Like, we're at this. I mean, obviously it's still pretty early in the game, but like,
Only turn 3.
yeah, but
still,
it's
yeah.
still like there's nothing on the board, and Ben's at 20. I mean, like, I feel like that's as good as things could be from Ben's perspective.
And he played a factory too.
Yeah, I guess that is something I didn't talk about of the land dealing, being able to block some damage. So
Vice versa, another thing, in terms of those lands is price of progress, right? Coming out of the sideboard.
yeah, I thought it was a card that like would be pretty key, but there are like a lot. I mean, I guess if the games go long, that Ben will have a decent number, but he doesn't. He has a decent amount of planes and doesn't necessarily need to play like he can play around it. I think for sure. But yeah, it is a card that could come into play. I think in the post board games.
Is that the lieutenant?
Yes, Ramosian Lieutenant.
Lieutenant Dan? Lieutenant Danielle?
So this one cannot be Mog Fanatic as the Defiant Falcon can. So
That's
yeah,
stubborn 2 toughness.
I guess Sphere Knight a good idea. Scroll already in play. I guess Scroll actually kind of helps as a protection against, or the Sphere actually kind of helps against Scroll because of if it clogs things up, at least for the short term, that it's going to be harder to get your hand down to 1 card. So I don't think it's really that bad.
So Aaron's got 2 left in hand after playing that Wooded Foothills and going down to 21.
All right, I guess he has a lot less cards than I thought. But
yeah, but still, right? He can't do both every turn, right? He's got to either play the cards out or try to scroll. And obviously, he wants to get those cards out of his hand first. The scroll is a nice counterpoint to the Rebels, but he's really got to make sure that he can stop things from getting out of control until then.
All right, we got a
Ball Lightning. Go ahead.
It's like a blistering fire cat with 1 less power.
Very nice. I mean, it's good, and he's got to get it out of his hand. But now the rebel is going to be active, right? If he plays a land, it's 4 mana to do it. Did you ever play Blistering Firecat back in the day?
I don't think I did. I did have a friend that top aided a PTQ with, it was like Burn with Tarmogoyf, and it had Blistering Firecat in it.
Nice.
Ooh, 90s MTG rating with the party of 40. Thank you. So
Hey, welcome.
welcome 90s MTGers. So if maybe some of you aren't familiar, I know a lot of you guys watch Legacy over there, but you may have seen the Premodern streams on that channel. But Premodern is Ice Age through Scourge, or 4th edition, I guess, through Scourge. But what the Premodern Showdown series is that we're doing is similar to the Vintage Super League. We have 8 players. They each brought 3 decks, and every week one of their decks is banned. They pick one of their remaining 2, and then they play a match against an opponent. So we got a round tournament. This is our 2nd week, so we're just getting things started. So if you're interested in this, we do our stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then also will be available on my YouTube channel after we're a couple days. So you can catch it. If you can't catch the live stream because you're watching 90s MTG, which is understandable, you can watch the replays on YouTube. Thank you for the follow. It is from Rooster Perez 65. Okay, so what else has changed after that?
It looks like Aaron followed it up with Barbarian Ring, and we've got Lynn Sibby on the board.
Okay.
All right, so the Rebel Stacks deck looking to do its thing. I think Aaron was activating Curse Scroll, and that was in response. So the Lieutenant's down. Lieutenant Dan is down, but Lynn Sibby is going to be active.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Did he get any?
I may have an answer.
Did he get any ice cream?
That is an important question.
Yeah.
All right.
What is our graveyard count for that Barbarian Ring? When does that come into play? There's 1,
got
2,
5.
3, and there's a Mog Fanatic in play. So,
Yeah.
but I guess we're
Close.
still a ways away to the point of where I think you just want to be. I mean, cards like Fire Blast, I guess, can really change the tempo of that game. But the life total looks okay for Ben right now. But I guess in his main deck, there aren't that many ways for him to stabilize. I don't think there's any way for him to gain extra life. So.
And we've got Aaron down to 1 card in hand, and I think we saw that it was a mountain when he activated the scroll.
Okay. And all the rebels that Ben can get, they all, other than Lynn Civvy, I think all have 2 toughness or less. So that Curse Scroll is really going to be able to just mow those rebels down.
So Aaron, I guess he's really hoping to draw some burn and then to be able to follow it up with a scroll and a fanatic just to end the Rebel Menace. What do you think? What are you thinking if you're in Aaron's shoes here?
Well, if you're like right now, I guess you block with this Lynn Civvy. I guess if he's gonna activate the scroll and the Mentally Mage, because if you choose, do you choose a target before, right? Because you could just get another Lynn Civvy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he blocks here and then, but you're still taking 2 from Ancient Tomb. But I mean, it seems like it's hard for him to get ahead from this position. Like what is he applying to start clocking Aaron? And I don't know what it is. I guess if Aaron's having to use Curse Scroll every turn just to keep up, then maybe he's okay, but it seems like Ben's gonna fall behind. Alright, so
Ben's going to take 2 from the tomb.
okay. I guess it wasn't clear to me whether Ben blocked, but I'm guessing he did. Okay, so we do see that line where Lynn Civvy gets another Lynn Civvy.
Yeah.
Aaron will reveal his Fire Blast from his hand. Okay. That one is a relevant card. Unfortunately for Aaron, he still has to reveal the card, even though like it would be nice if you could just be like, I'll just name a different card or just not reveal anything and not deal any damage. but he still has to reveal it since he put it on the stack. But...
Mhm. So Ben's got swords and an unknown here. He still has his factory and his Lincivy. And he's at 10 now. So, I mean, with that Fire Blast and that Barbarian Ring on the board, he's not that far out of range.
Well, he does have this timely as Aaron, he's double counting the number of cards in his graveyard. I guess he has Fire Blast, so
You just go face here, right? You Fire Blast face, you ring
okay.
face,
Yeah, I
and
guess
then you scroll twice and win.
that seems fair. Take 4, and then
He's
take
got a
2.
swords in his hand, so he can swords his own factory or whatever, but that's still a pretty feel bad situation for Ben.
Yeah, so but I mean, if things, I'm trying to think what like if Aaron had poor draws from here out, if Ben would be able to like how quickly can he clock? Mistress Factory's 2 every turn. I don't know if you want to. I feel like you might want to use that Marisha
That
board.
port, right?
Yeah.
I know. I was thinking that
It's-
too. Like,
especially this turn, like without him having a card in his hand. That
yeah.
oh, he did. He didn't attack. Okay, this is this is a
Okay.
port and not an attack.
Okay, yeah, I thought he attacked too.
Okay, so he ported during upkeep, and now he's Linciving probably for a whip quarter. Go gadget whip quarter. It's-
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Man, I wish this card were just. It just seems like a perfect balance. Like 2 mana 2/2. We like that. An ability that's like relevant. This guy's just fair. He's usually not good enough, but he's my boy. I like whip quarter.
Michael loves tap creatures.
All right. So
Rooster Perez 65 asks where they can find deck lists.
right now I have them on Facebook in our Facebook group. The either Premodern or Premodern Online Play. I will get them up for further weeks to have them in a shareable Google sheet. So that is something I need to add to my list. But
So we do see the port again, and he taps. He wants this to be a land, and it is a land. Okay, okay. That's good news for Aaron. Ben, of course, still has that swords in his hand.
yeah, I mean, I guess I was to say going for the creature doesn't really change anything, since you'd just be able to find another one. But that swords does give him at least a turn.
Yep.
Actually, 2 turns, I guess, if you're using it on the Mishra's Factory.
Oh yeah,
Because you could gain 3 life.
activate it. Yeah.
I mean, that's also Aaron has to draw like stone nothing for the next couple turns. Though, I mean, using scroll and with a sphere in play, I guess stone nothing is maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, because the spells actually are kind of costly from this point. All right, so
Yeah.
wait. So did he only gain 2?
I guess so. Yeah.
Aaron only put him up.
He didn't. He didn't want to take the. So with Sphere in play,
It just
he had
cost
to-
2.
yeah, swords is 2, and he also had to activate the factory, so he couldn't do it.
Well, wouldn't it just be better to use Lincivy at this point and then like get a whip quarter and then untap and then use the swords? Because then you're attacking with a creature and you get to use get the extra life.
Yeah, and I mean,
I think
Well,
I like
it-
that sequence better.
it does put him out of bolt range, though, right?
Well, Bolt's not online right now because of sphere resistance.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So Aaron's gonna go down to 14.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, this is tricky from Ben's position because I don't know. All right, so we're porting during upkeep, and then
Oh wow, another land. Wow. Whew. The only time when the slide deck wants to draw lands.
I mean at this point I don't think it like really matters if he's at 2. He just needs I guess yes, because it would be a 50-50 otherwise. Okay.
Another whip quarter. Just trying to get that sweet 2 power. Makes sense.
So I think Ben needs just more Swords to Plowshares. Is that kind of what it comes down to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. His Exalted Angel's in the board, but it
Yep.
doesn't matter. He uses it too. All right, he's going to scoop him up. Whew.
All
Okay.
right. First game is a Sligh. So I guess that's kind of how we talked about the game with the Series as slowing things down, but without
Yep.
Ben able to close things out, the burn just eventually overcomes him. So
Burn finds a way.
let's start talking about
Advantage.
sideboards, which things do get a little bit more exciting for Ben, because I think Sphere of Law is a pretty important one here. So the Sphere of Law is a 4-mana enchantment. If a red source would deal damage to you, instead prevent 2 of that damage, something to that extent. So really reduces the effectiveness of the red burn spells out of, or red sources of damage. Sorry, not just the spells. So Jackal Pups and Mog Phonetics and Sulfur Vortexes will all prevent those damage. So that's, I think, card number 1. Exalted Angel is good. Ivory Mask is good. All those cards seem good, and those are all tutorable with. I guess Ivory Mask is a card that I didn't really think about or realize, but
So good.
the deck really then it just kind of comes down to Ball Lightnings. I think if you're able to resolve Ivory Mask, because what does Aaron do about an Ivory Mask? Price of Progress.
Price progress, yeah.
But
I think if you're Ben and you drop an Ivory Mask, you are very reluctant to play non-basics after that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's Mask, it's Angel, it's Sphere. Here's my question: do you bring in Ensnaring Bridge?
I think yeah, you could, because it's a fine card against Ball Lightning. Like it's 1 copy, and Ball Lightning is one of the harder cards to deal with, and it just deals a big chunk. Ball Lightning is good against if Sphere of Law is in play, and it's good if Ivory Mask is in play. So both kind of your key cards. I think Ivory Mask is worth bringing in. Usually I'm not a big fan of bringing out a card of Ivory or Ensnaring Bridge when it only shuts down a portion of someone's deck. But I think this is a spot where it kind of fills a hole that Ben has, and I think it fits in nicely. What cards are you looking to take out?
I think I would probably take out Smokestack.
Well, there's one Smokestack. Yeah, I think that's one
the
to take out.
Tangle Wires.
Okay, that's fair. So that's 3 cards, and then I mean the cards we talked about was 4 cards, including Ensnaring Bridge. So maybe there's one more. I mean, maybe Weathered Wayfarer, but I guess if you're that card's actually pretty nice. Well, I guess if you have to get non-basics, it's a little bit risky. Yeah, maybe Weathered Wayfarer, but
Maybe. I don't.
Do you-
You definitely don't want to take out any rebels.
do you think Shared Triumph is a card that should come in? Just a name Rebel, increase the clock, maybe make some. I guess it doesn't really put very much out of burn range. I guess it makes Whip Quarters not die to a Curse Scroll, which could be relevant. So that's also
it's a little
card.
awkward with Bridge if he brings in Bridge as well. But I don't know. He doesn't have a lot of cards to bring in, and he's got enough redundancy to where he doesn't necessarily have to play the Shared Triumph and the Bridge. So maybe.
Okay, so a lot of options for Ben. Let's take a look at Aaron's sideboard. So Tormod's Crypt Overload is Overload. I mean, there's Mock Simons. There's more stuff in the main. If you look at the deck on paper, there's targets for Overload, but I don't know if they're the cards that Aaron really needs to worry about. Lava Dart is a card that I wouldn't say it's bad, but I mean, it gets Ramosian Sergeant, Defiant Falcon, Weathered Wayfarer, but in general, I don't think that's the fight that Aaron really needs to fight. Because there's still a number of rebels that are more than 1 toughness that Ben is probably going to get, and I think it's worse to have a burn spell that's pretty ineffective.
I mean, it's definitely Price of Progress, right? I think we agree on that. After that, it's just a matter of whether or not he brings in the Sulfuric Vortex And if he decides that those pesky spheres are a big enough deal, that he wants to do something about them with the overloads.
Yeah,
And I guess,
there is a
oh, go
tension
ahead.
with Sulfuric Vortex because of Sphere of Law. Like when Sulfuric Vortex is in play and a Sphere of Law is in play,
Yeah.
it's only dealing damage to one player, and that player would be Aaron. So it does make that card a, a little bit more wary. Like if you're, but it's still a very powerful card. Like if you look at that last game and there's a Sulfuric Vortex in play, then it's pretty easily something that Aaron wins, I think. So
Yeah, definitely.
all right, let's jump back down to the match and figure out if I think the story is just kind of are the sideboard cards for Ben powerful enough to beat Aaron. Do you think like is Ben favored? Would you say like post board? Would you go that far?
I think that he definitely improves his odds, but I don't know if he's favored.
Okay.
I think that if he mulligans aggressively and is able to get, an ancient tomb and a sphere or an ivory mask, and drop that on turn 3, then Aaron's in big trouble. Absolutely. Um, or even if an enlightened tutor and an ancient tomb and a plains, is a pretty good keep for Ben. So I think that he could pretty easily swing it in his favor. It's part of this is going to come down to variance, I think.
So Elangelo says, I think you take the vortexes out. I don't think you actually do because there are two, like the Ivory Mask and the Sphere of Law type things. Like it is very bad against Sphere of Law, but it is very good against Ivory Mask. And because there are only one copies of each, there's 4 Enlightened Tutors. So like Ben kind of has to make a decision at one point whether he's going for Ivory Mask first or Sphere of Law first. And if he goes for Ivory Mask, then
Ivory Law.
Ivory Law. That should be a card.
It should be.
If he goes for Ivory Mask first, then the Sphere of Sulfuric Vortex becomes actually really good. So I wouldn't take them out. I do understand that there's a risk to playing them, but it gives you an angle of attack if Ben goes for Ivory Mask.
We also didn't really talk about what he takes out, while the players are still shuffling here, because most of his cards have game in this match. So if you're Aaron, I mean, you definitely want to bring in those 3 Price of Progress. But what 3 cards do you take out here, Mike? Do you take out like the Hammer? For
I think
example?
Hammer is just like always the card that comes up first. There's I think a singleton copy of Volcanic Hammer, but
maybe one Hammer, maybe a Ball Lightning, and maybe a Bobble.
yeah, I don't know exactly.
He only runs 19 lands. So the baubles are important for that, but I feel like Ben's always going to sandbag a swords for a Ball Lightning anyway. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how they board. And Phil, I'm excited for game 2 as well. This is a very interesting match. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, the gameplay that comes out of this Death and Taxes deck is really interesting. When the game is kind of drawn out with cards like Sphere of Resistance, then there's a lot of decision points, I think, for certain decks. The games aren't compressed into like 4 or 5 turns, but when they're spread out. So I think Ben's deck does lead to a lot of interesting games, which is pretty cool.
If you're still tuning in from the 90s MTG raid and you aren't involved in Premodern, make sure you check out the Premodern Discord and the Premodern Facebook group and the Premodern online play groups. You can learn more about the format. And if you're interested, you can even get involved and play.
Yes, we are in the midst of a tournament. We usually run one every month. Right now we're doing the Fall Brawl, which is a little bit different than what we do in our typical monthlies, but we do play webcam matches that we do every month. So we start off with a Mox Diamond from Ben. He will discard a Caves of Kolios. So there's one less non-basic land for Ben.
Take that, Price of Progress. Ooh, and a sphere. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a nice turn.
Yeah.
So
Jet.
I guess I'd be willing to. I think you want to get a Whipcorder in play, right? And just try and go beat down if a sphere's in play. Yep, we're attacking.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely wants to put some pressure on Ben.
Oh, we got more spheres. All right, so
Wow.
we're just gonna try and lock Aaron out. Just the natural, just sphere, yeah, kind of game. So, how many lands does Aaron have in his draw? Like, how many baubles are in his hand that he? Well, I guess he could cast a bauble. So,
He
uh,
could.
I guess
He
so.
could.
That's probably not the right. But how many lands were in his opening hand? I guess that's kind of what we're coming down to. And he's not cracking those wooded pinholes yet. So I think that means Aaron wants to draw land. So I don't think there is a thermal glider in the 75.
I don't think
of
that
Ben.
there is. That would be pretty rad.
But yeah, the pro red creature would be kind of cute. All right, we got
So,
land
I mean,
number 3 from Aaron. Is he casting a 1-drop? He's fetching. All right.
here comes Pup.
For
Here comes Pup.
a half second there, I thought he was scooping up his cards. Yeah, the ancient tombs, if he has to keep having to tap those, are problematic.
Is that an untitled art beverage you have there, Michael?
It is, yes. I am drinking
Oh,
a
very nice.
strawberry shortcake imperial seltzer. So
Very nice.
pretty good, actually. All right, we see a lightning bolt go for the creature. So Aaron's gotta say, "Oh wait, the creature's back." Oh, did we?
I think he's activating the rebel.
Okay, I didn't realize that. All right, I thought it had attacked. Is this whip quarter time, or is it Defiant Falcon or Ramosian Sergeant? It's probably another rebel searcher.
Yeah, I would assume so. If you have overload, do you take out the mocks? Yeah, I think you do. Mike.
Uh, yeah, probably. I mean, like, especially having because you haven't seen another land from Ben.
Yeah.
It will just constrict him on mana so much. Oh, that's the whip quarter, right? Yep. All right.
It's almost like Ben's got a pyrostatic pillar on him with that ancient tomb without other mana sources.
Yeah. All right, we got our whippy boy in play. Which
oh, whippy boy!
I guess we did not talk about the interaction with whip quarter and ball lightning, which is kind of cool. So ball lightning.
You were waiting for that one, weren't you?
I'm just trying to increase the stock of whip quarter. Everyone, buy your whip quarters now. Start playing them. There's nothing can go wrong. Yeah. The game of Magic is better if everyone's playing cards like whip quarter. So. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to talk about the decision point of why he elected to go for Whip Quarter as compared to another Rebel that could get more creatures. One justification I could see is he wants to avoid tapping that Ancient Tomb more and just attacking Aaron as much as he can is kind of his plan. But right now, the Whip Quarter looks a little worse because with the Scrim Lavamancer in play, there are more than 2 cards in the graveyard for it to fuel it. So
Luminal MTG says I've lost a whip quarter in Legacy. So folks are running it in Legacy, or at least they did in the past.
I would say I assumed it would have been like a Death and Taxes shell, but I do not remember Death and Taxes playing whip quarter. But
2020s are bad against whip quarter. So it's perhaps Merit Lage was stymied by a wee whip quarter.
There's a Rebels list. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. There also was, I guess, is Whip Quarter also a soldier, or is I think it's just a human rebel? Because there is a like kind of a out there legacy deck that is like soldiers, and it plays like the Goblin Ringleader. I don't even know what card it is. It's like something Lieutenant, Frontline Lieutenant. But it looks at the top 4 cards and it gives you all the soldiers, but that is a wild legacy deck because it plays some pretty bad cards.
Oh wow! So Shared Triumph comes down for Ben, and that's going to put him at 12. By the way,
Okay.
But it does put the Whip Quarter out of Lavamancer range.
Out of Lavamancer range, but not out of like cards like Bolt or Incinerate. So there still are a number of burn spells that Aaron can have, but it does reduce the effectiveness of Grim Blossomancer. Yes, Soldier Stompy, I think, is yes what the
Nice.
Legacy deck is called. Easily one of the friendliest people who trounced me with Linsivy. I don't know how big the list is of people who have trounced you with Linsivy. I guess it maybe depends on how long you've been playing Magic.
That's totally true.
So, because I guess if you were playing in that block or standard era, then that list might be very long. So,
A lot of rebels running around then.
all right, we got 5 mana. We've got
There
a
it
Ball
is.
Lightning. Oh, the Whip Quarter's tapped, and the Ball Lightning finds its moment.
Wow. It's a huge swing.
7
Ben
points
just
of damage.
crossing his fingers there, like, please don't let him have it.
Yeah. Looks like there's 3 cards in Aaron's hand. I don't know how many cards Ben is dealing with. Daru Cavalier. I only know Daru Cavalier from my. I started getting into the game when Onslaught was the block, and I have many copies of this card.
All right, so Ben keeping his mana open this time.
Yeah, and not attacking with a quarter. So I guess is he respecting Ball Lightning number 2? But if you just wait too long, like this Grim Lavamancer is just gonna kill you.
There's a bolt.
Yep, and that's just gonna. The Lavamancer should just finish him off.
Yep.
Okay, looks like the Sligh deck
Wow.
does Sligh things. So
Okay.
I don't know where we're at in our prediction. Let's go see. Let's see. Choose prediction outcome. Someone bet on Ben. It was 1-99, 1% versus 99. It would have been a hell of a payout for the Ben, but looks like Aaron D takes it. So all right, let's jump over and listen to what our players have to say about the match.
To draw anything but land, actually.
Yeah. My whole game plan was you not drawing more lands than me. So like that was tough. And you were joking, but I did side out in Ancient Tomb.
Yeah. I thought you might. Like honestly.
Yeah. I wanted to go side out second one, but because of my reliance on Mox Diamond, I didn't think it was good.
Sure. I actually sideboarded out Baubles against you.
That's probably smart.
Just because Sphere of Resistance makes them terrible. And I
Yeah.
sideboarded in Price of Progress.
Oh yes, Price of Progress is very scary for me. It wasn't that scary that game. I only like 2. I was pretty happy with Shared Triumph. It was kind of cute.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
An engineered play came in.
Yeah, it's pretty good on so like Wizard, because Lavamancer can
Yep.
give me trouble.
Yep.
And it can also be good on Elemental because Ball Lightning is just a ton of damage.
Right.
And once I have a Sphere of Law out, there's not that many things that can do me increments of greater than 2. I sided out an Ancient Tomb, like Tangle Wires, a 1-drop. I got 2 mana 1/1 because that just feels bad. A 1 mana 1/1, and I actually sided out a Shared Triumph, but I also sided in a Shared Triumph, so it's kind of the same.
Just sideboarding for the act of sideboarding.
You just killed Flynn. Got it.
So what happened was
Oh, man.
I sided them. I sided them both in, and then I realized I sided in too many cards, so I was going through and I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep the shiny one in because that's on my sideboard. And so there was a swap.
Speaking of sideboarding, that second game, I don't know. The reason it took us so long to get going in that one was because I'm an idiot, and I actually sideboarded in my entire sideboard on accident. I was I shuffled up and I drew my hand and I'm going like, I didn't sideboard in Blue Blast. And I went to check my sideboard like, what did I side in? What did I like? Where is my sideboard? And I couldn't find my sideboard like an idiot.
You need 5 more cards to be a Yorion deck. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. So let me.
Oh, we should face up.
Yeah, I'm looking for my button right now.
Oh, I'm upside down.
I can fix that.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Actually, I can't. Never mind. We're all in one
Okay.
group.
I have an analog device that just turns it upside down.
Yeah, so kind of how we thought the games would go is game 1 seems pretty rough for Ben. Most of the time you want a Sphere of Resistance, but since the Rebels deck doesn't really close out quickly, it kind of loses its effectiveness. But then the sideboard of games come all down to either Ivory Mask or Sphere of Law.
Yeah.
You know,
I never wanted to see I wasn't so worried about the Sphere of Law. It was the Ivory Mask I was afraid of.
yeah. Game 2 I felt really good about. I thought for sure I would draw more lands than him. And then I was just really unfortunate. And like, Ancient Tomb, I even sided one out because drawing 2 is a nightmare, but I can't take out too many because of my Mox Diamonds. Like I can't really go too low on lands, so that was pretty tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm still like I feel like if we played this game enough times, there would be like, I don't think it's as bad as that made it look.
Okay.
That game 2 opener, Ben, was amazing.
Yeah, it was. He had me on my heels from the start. I'm like, okay, I've got the Lavamancer in the opening hand. I was feeling really good about it, and then, okay, he played the Rebel. I've got action for the Rebel. Nope, Sphere. First turn, Rebel Sphere. Go seems pretty strong.
Yeah, I had some fantastic gas to follow up. I had a Sphere of Law in my hand. I just didn't. I just never drew the lands, and I was like, I was just thinking to myself, how many times can I tap this Ancient Tomb? And I figured, in for a penny, in for a pound. I don't know. I kind of liked it. I think the line's fine, assuming that like I'm gonna get out of it before he does.
Oh, I think it's totally reasonable. There might be a chance that he keeps a land light draw and just like doesn't even cast a spell for the first 5 turns. So
I did. I kept a 2-lander, which was why I was like so hesitant to fetch until I could use it.
Sure.
Because I'm like, keep those lands in the deck. I need to draw something. Because when the second one hit, I'm like, I'm not touching one of these fetches until I hit a 3rd land, at least.
Yeah.
And I ended up holding on to them until I had 2 more lands in hand. So.
Yeah, my heart is broken.
It was good play. I mean, Ben, there's only 19 lands in Aaron's deck, and it's harder for him to cast the baubles with those spheres in play.
Oh yeah, and he even said he took out the bauble. So it was.
Yeah, I think it's a good play. Absolutely.
No, I do it again. It was in fact, Aaron, if you want to play some games later this week,
100%.
Definitely,
I would love to play. I honestly thought like a start like that. If you started like that, I think you're 75% to win off the first turn, and you go up after the second turn. The fact that I still just kept drawing land bailed me out.
Yeah,
and normally that would kill me in this deck.
Well, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I did help you out a little bit. I think about half the damage.
No, definitely.
So, we can share that win in that regard.
We were saying you had a pyrostatic pillar in a land over there.
Yeah. No, it was great. I love Ancient Tomb. Ask Jared, he runs it too.
Yep,
it's good.
It's a great card. We decided in the last PSS that more decks need to be running it.
Yeah, I was. The sideboard I think seems pretty straightforward. I wasn't sure about the. No, I think it's right. I made a few misplays game 1. Like I don't know that I probably just should have towards the Rebel instead of my land. There was a turn where I attacked with the land and like I don't know, I was kind of trading 2 for 1 damage and it probably wasn't great. But
I guess going back to the first game, the sequence that you did, because you tabbed or you end of turn, swords your own land. What I was thinking you were going to do is get the whip quarter on your turn, on the end of the turn, and then untap, and then you'd have the mana to activate the Mishra's Factory and tap it, so you gain 3 life.
It was on my turn
Yeah.
that he did it. It was before I drew, because he didn't want me drawing a bolt off the top and just finishing him off.
Oh, it was. Oh, I was
It was
thinking
on my turn.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking you
but-
did it at the end of your turn. Okay.
Right, because if you, nah, it still doesn't. I don't know. I think Mike, you're right. I think I could have waited till my turn and done it, because if he did bolted me on his turn, then I could have in response gained the
Done it in
life and it would have been
response.
fine. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, culpa, but that's okay. It's still I'm still really enjoying this deck quite a bit. And I'm
Well,
encouraging
I know
everyone.
the crowd has been pretty supportive of the Rebel Stacks, Death and Taxes, whatever you want to call it, but
Absolutely.
they've really enjoyed the games and watching it, because yeah, it is really interesting. A lot of the opportunities that when the game gets slowed down with Sphere of Resistance, there are a lot of interactions that are pretty cool.
Yeah, I call it. It's kind of like a prison deck, but it's more like a minimum security prison deck, where there's people walking around and getting juice from the soda fountain, and it's like it's still people who do stuff. It's not full lockdown.
All right. Are you speaking from experience? I don't know.
I wish.
Any security firms out there, don't hire Ben.
No, I vacation in the Berkshires. I wish I could go to a minimum security prison. And also, I just wanted to call out some of these cards where I actually had to get them because I couldn't get them locally. It was kind of tight. I went onto a website, Cardsphere, and I have a really nice program where you can end up trading your cards. I think I put no money in, and I just sending cards out. It's been great.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think
casual
they're.
plug.
Yeah, no, that was nice smooth. I would say.
It was true. It
Super
was
smooth.
True.
I don't think we really had any questions. I think I'm just going back on the chat to see if there were things that people wanted to ask about. We were talking about Legacy and random soldiers decks. I was hyping up Whip Quarter. Whip Quarter is one of my favorite cards, so I think I was cheering for Ben because of Whip Quarter. So sorry,
Michael,
Aaron.
I will always take your cheering, no matter what deck I'm playing.
It felt really unfortunate when the Whip Quarter attacked and then the 5-minute ball lightning came in. that felt real unfortunate.
I thought about that play for so long because I'm like, you know what? Like, if he's got a swords in hand here, I don't get the damage I want. But honestly, we were trading back and forth so much at the time. Like, my life wasn't as high as I would want it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was yeah, this deck, because it has trouble closing out, just like at some point you need to say, I want to keep annoying my opponent, but at some point I need to be proactive. And so I've been really making efforts to be more aggressive, but like it feels bad every time I do it. This deck doesn't want to attack.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because it's like, especially when you're playing against the red deck, like if you just give them draw steps, they're going to draw burn spells. So
Sure.
I can see
yeah.
just you could just say, hope you don't have the ball lightning kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a really, if anyone picks up this deck, it's a really wonderful experience of feeling like nothing you do is right.
Oh, that's a great endorsement. I want to play that deck now.
It's like if you haven't had like I love my mother, but if you haven't had a Jewish mother, like
Oh man.
maybe that's the new name for the deck. Jewish mom.
Don't know that one's gonna stick, but
yeah. We'll let you run with that. Well, the games were fun to watch, and
They were fun to play.
Same as
Yeah,
last
great.
week. It's an interesting deck, and we're really glad you brought it to the table. Probably some tuning that needs to be done on it, just in terms of closing out games a little faster.
this
but
is-
overall really
This is a
cool to
version
see.
slow. This is version 2. I have a version 3 if anybody's interested.
Mhm.
And one more thing I wanted to mention to you both, and Aaron and I were talking about this while we were muted, but we just appreciate you having this and including us so much. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're glad to have you guys.
Yeah, of course, it's fun.
All right, is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we send you off and see you next week?
I got nothing.
All right.
It's only Tuesday, but you're going to make it. There's a Friday around the corner,
Yes.
and we're on this thing together.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Aaron, meet me in Diablo later.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Take care, Flint. Bye, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you out, Flint. Like there was one time we closed out of the Premodern Showdown series, or Flint and I were talking or something, like you're like, yeah, I gotta go, and then you like immediately logged into like the Discord and start playing Diablo 2.
I did. I got called in by my cousin. He was like, "Hey, I can play randomly. Can you jump in?" And I was like, "Oh, sure."
Yeah.
Twist my arm.
All right, so I got the schedule up for the remainder of the week. Looking forward to Thursday, we have John Grazina against Tom Matelski, and then our late night match features Ron Taylor against Brian Durkin. So, some more fun matches. The first few weeks kind of get settled in. We're gonna figure out like where people are in the standings, and then it kind of gets interesting if we look at like, okay, what do we think the playoff is gonna be looking at, and so we're just kind of making the first steps and seeing if players can get out to an early 2-0. So I guess right now, who do we have that's 2-0? Because James is 1-1, Jared is 2-0, Ben is 0-2, and Aaron is 1-1.
Yep.
Okay, so then John is
1-0.
1-0, and Tom is 0-1, and Ron's 1-0, and Brian is 0-1. So we'll see if the rich get richer or if things get evened out in our match on Thursday. Is there one player you want to look at on Thursday or highlight, or is there a deck you're looking to see?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me pull up the deck list here.
Can I say that?
Go ahead.
Let's see elves. I guess. I mean, that's kind of like the boogeyman of the format that we've been talking about, but it would be kind of fun to see it. I mean, eventually we are going to see elves. I'm sure there are 4 players that brought it. It's not. I don't think it's going to get banned every week, or at least someone's going to be brave enough to bring the best deck in the format. So
I want to see Replenish.
Okay.
I want to see Ron play Replenish at some point. I love that deck.
Yeah, that a deck that Ron has kind of brought and has had a decent amount of success. I think he top 8'd, or at least top 16 back-to-back monthlies with the Replenish deck, which I don't know if he described it, but he kind of made it seem that it was like an inferior version of like the Devourer combo. He just felt like it was either like a turn or a half a turn slower, but he's been doing well with it. So yeah, it is fun to watch the combo deck in action. So.
And I think he sells himself a little short, right? Because he does have access to an additional color there that's important in white. So, after sideboard, and I think he can just interact a little bit better than the Devourer deck probably that has to rely on Russian River. So he's probably selling himself a little short.
Yep. So excited for Thursday. We're in week 2 of week 7 of all the Swiss rounds, and then week 8 will be the finals. I think there is like one of the days is off is because of Thanksgiving, but looking forward to all the pre-modern matches that we have to come, and it'll be exciting to see who is in the running to be the PSS 3 champion. So just want to give a shout out to all the people who tuned in tonight, all the active chatters. It's fun to keep everyone involved, and then thank you everyone for following. We just had a follow from the Precon guys. Thank you and welcome. Thanks for 90s MTG for the raid. We did have a subscription earlier. It was from none other than Flint. He said hey
What?
14 months. So thank you, Flint, for the support.
I just can't get enough.
Yeah, but then we also had I guess some follows. The Legends 2018. Yeah, I'll cut it there. I don't know. It's hard to parse like where I don't know if things are flowing like 2018 pounds. I don't know. Anyways, and then there was Turbo Mollusk also had a follow, and I guess that was 2 days ago. But he got a shout out. So
Still like that username.
Yes. So just want to thank everyone for the support. We're having a lot of fun with this. We can hope we can kind of grow the channel and expose more people to pre-modern, and kind of have fun doing this little tournament that we do. So. Having a lot of fun. Is there anything you want to add, Flint, before you go play Diablo 2?
Food then Diablo. I usually plug all of our supporters and all of the other folks who are doing work in the pre-modern community. We had a bit of an intermission this time, so check that out and join the community if you're new to pre-modern. So I'll spare you all the exhaustive list this evening.
All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, take care.
Night, everybody.